Ian Bremmer is founding president of Eurasia Group, a global risk consulting company. Ian, good morning.
Morning to you.
A lot to talk about, but one of the questions that Mr. Trump did not answer yesterday in his press conference was whether he could say with 100% certainty whether anyone on his campaign had direct contact with the Russians during the election. Why do you think that question is important?
Well, he pointedly didn't answer it. He knew that he was being asked, and he clearly had been briefed. And he's like, nope, I'm not taking that one. Maybe it means he's not sure. Maybe it means he is. Either way, it's very clear from this report that was leaked, 35-page report on Russia and Trump, that there's a lot of information about ongoing connections between members of Trump's foreign policy team, including Carter Page, who Trump pointedly said he didn't know, but originally was one of the 4 foreign policy advisors that Trump actually made known to the press. Paul Manafort, of course, was sacked from Trump administration, all the way through in terms of the leaks, awareness of the leaks, engagement with the Russian state.
But I do think it's important to point out that that 35-page document that you're reporting on is a dossier compiled by Fusion GPS, which is a Washington firm made up of former journalists paid by political operatives, opposition research. It's unverifiable. It's not U.S. intelligence.
Put together by a British firm.
Yes, put together by a firm called Orbis. Right. And the intelligence, the former MI6 agent responsible for it, or excuse me, analyst, strikes me that some of the information on Russia, we have a team of Russia experts. We've looked at it very carefully. A lot of that analysis looks reasonably plausible. But the sex stuff does not.
The point was that it's a dossier. It has not been verified. That's the reason so many news organizations did not.
Yeah,
that's right. And I think that there's no question right now that the ability to come out and say this is factual is not there.
Isn't it more interesting to find out, too, whether what he'll do with sanctions, Russian sanctions, perhaps?
I think it's very clear. It's very clear. I mean, one of the big pieces of news that came out yesterday was that Trump admitted that after saying that there was no reason to believe the Russians were behind this, could have been a 400-pound guy sitting in a bed, turned out he said, yeah, probably was the Russians. But even then, which, you know, you'd think would say, oh, the intelligence community did a good job on this. He said, well, still might have been someone else. He focused on China being a much bigger hacking threat. He consistently wants to downplay Russia and says that Russia working with the United States is closer is clearly a very good thing. Now, if you're Trump and your public view is they're not going to do it anymore under me, and it might not have even been them, well, clearly it's wrong to have sanctions against them for that, for something you can't even prove or verify.
He also said yesterday, Ian, that if he had a relationship with Vladimir Putin, that would be an asset, not a liability. Rex Tillerson in the confirmation hearing says something different. What is your take on both of those comments?
Well, Tillerson is in campaign mode because he needs actually to get confirmed, and it's still a little bit dicey. So I understand why Tillerson, just like Sessions, would say things that seem very different from what Trump, who's already won his election, and, you know, it continues to be very unfettered. But I think that on sanctions itself, it's very clear ExxonMobil's position from day one has been, we want these off. All they're doing is damaging the U.S. relationship with Russia.
Is Putin an asset, not a liability?
To Trump? He certainly is an asset. To the United States, it is not clear. I mean, Putin clearly was not an asset to the United States in terms of the support for Russia delegitimizing America's election.
I mean, you can be, it would seem to me, Putin likes Trump, and matters little, except is Trump representing the national security interests of the United States, and he can be aggressive in pursuing that end and still have Putin like him.
Sure. And I think that Tillerson
likes him or not doesn't seem to me to have much relevance to anything.
It clearly seems to be relevant to Trump in terms of the way he's orienting towards the country.
But the question is how he decides, and the policy is not how it affects his ego.
And I think one of the reasons why Tillerson is clearly one of the strongest adults that's been nominated to the cabinet. And to the extent that he has a problem, it's because everyone that's looking at Trump and Russia thinks this doesn't add up for the American national security.
We can ask Jamie Dimon this, too, because he's coming up. But among the people you know, do they think Rex Tillerson, you know, I mean those people in the elites, do they think Rex Tillerson would be a good Secretary of State for the United States?
They certainly do. And we're talking about former secretaries of state, you know, up and down. The Republicans are strong. They were the ones that supported, you know, suggesting him to Trump. But the fact is that Tillerson on Russia will enable Trump policies that right now deeply unnerve the Republican Party. And I think that's why you see Paul Ryan and others coming as strongly after
Marco
Tillerson.
Rubio.
Yes, absolutely. Yesterday in the hearings, Marco Rubio and many others.
Thank you, Ian. Great to have you here.
My pleasure.